Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Evelyn Williams from the National Housing Federation. I am here today with Jenny Brown, who is chair at Longhurst Group. Jenny will be chairing our Audit and Risk conference on the 5th and 6th November 2024 at the Lowry in Manchester. So, Jenny, last year we had the Audit and Risk conference in Birmingham. And basically, we were operating in completely different circumstances. The landscape was different from an economic perspective, from a political perspective, and a regulatory perspective. So, on that basis, when we're looking at where we are now in preparation for the new conference, what should audit and risk teams and committees look forward to in the coming year?
Well, I think if we think about last year, we thought there probably would be a general election, but it wasn't at all confirmed. So we weren't sure on the timing. So we've got that's happened. And I think it's useful. We've already started to hear some policy changes that might be in place. And I'm sure by the time we get to November, we'll have more information about that to flesh out what the pros and the risks are. Because, of course, when we talk about audit and risk, that risk piece isn't just around avoiding things, it's also about assessing the risk of taking things on as well. So I think there'll be some great conversations about new policies that might be appearing. We were also in a space where we knew that the new consumer regulation was on its way. We were pretty sure. We had people like Kate Dodsworth there telling us this is probably how it's going to be, but we're not certain yet. This is probably what inspections are going to look like, but we're not certain yet. We heard from people who'd had pilots. We are now in a position, and there'll be even more, I suspect, by the time we get to the conference, where people have been through that first wave of inspections. We've started to see C grade coming out. We've seen C1s. We've also seen more reactive, C3s and things like that. And there'll be more announcements between now and November of more results. So I think now we're in a place that people can really understand what the inspection is. It's not about sort of conjecture. It's about really listening to stories, and I know we've got some stories to be shared already. I think we've got Steve Coffey from Taurus going to talk about how they found the inspection process with Kate Dodsworth. So I think there's those sorts of things there, but I think there's other things that are moving on as well. So we're seeing more people putting their maintenance contractors under pressure to deliver. We've got AWAB's law in place. There are so many things, I think, this year where instead of it being around what might happen, it's actually now about responding to what is in place or is much clearer as to what we should be doing. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity to listen to other people's stories and learn from each other.
Thank you very much, Jenny. So a lot happening. You've made that very clear with your answer. So with all these things happening, what do you think is the common challenge that delegates will bring to this conference?
I think, and I experienced this myself in my role as a chair. I see my fellow board members, and in my role as a governance consultant, I see this happening. So where do we pay the energy to? There is so many different things to get our heads around. There are rules changing left, right, and centre. There are stakeholder pressures that are increasing, many of them quite rightly so, and also now on top of that, new political pressures in different directions as to where we should be focusing our time and energy, looking at house building targets again, all those sorts of things. So I think one of the hardest things is actually how to allocate the energy, how to make sure that you're doing enough, you're doing it effectively and efficiently, and you're not actually getting into a place where you can't see the wood for the trees. So hopefully we'll get some great stories around that, about this kind of, I've talked to lots of my clients, it's about this idea of keeping all of the plates spinning at the same time and knowing where to sort of really be focusing your energy.
Thanks, Jenny. So personally, why are you looking forward to the Audit and Risk Conference in 2024? What are you excited about?
Well, do you know what? I think it is a great space where so many of the key ideas come together. So I know there are lots of other fantastic conferences, many of which you put together yourself. But I think the Audit and Risk one is a little bit of a hidden gem in many ways. And I would love for people to realise quite how fantastic it is. And the reason for that is that it really cuts to the core as to what we should be spending our time on. And I don't think that's just for audit and risk committee members. I actually think it's a great starting point for new board members. It's a great starting point for general board members who maybe don't have that much to do with the sector, but want to kind of get their teeth into an understanding of that question of where should I be spending my time and energy. I think from that perspective, it's also pretty good from those inside the business as well, who are sort of trying to understand, maybe stepping up into a more strategic space, because it doesn't get overly distracted by too much kind of speculation. There is a little bit of that, but it's very much focused on horizon scanning with purpose, and that whole thing around risk. It's like it's at the core of how any of us like run the businesses that we're all running. So for me, it's a really effective and efficient way to kind of immerse yourself in what's important in the sector for 2 days, hear some really interesting ideas, get involved in some great debate, and also I think connect with similar minded people.
Jenny, thank you very much for your time today. As I said earlier, the Audit and Risk Conference is on the 5th and 6th of November 2024 at the Lowry Hotel in Manchester. If you're looking to future-proof your organisation, this is the conference for you. You should definitely attend. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.